Hello, YouTube. All right, I just wrapped up an episode here about staying cool in your van. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And I'm getting ready to head out to the compound to cook up a nice special treat for myself before the weekend hits and I hang out with my kids. But as you can see, I am actually inside Little Blue 2 right now. And one way to stay cool, of course, obviously, is if you have working air conditioning, which I do now. Thank you, Express Tech. Thank you, Marcelo. Wow, he worked really hard to get the AC working here. And didn't even charge me. How kind is that? So anyhow, I am actually getting ready to head out. And I do have the rice, which is finished cooking. It cooked in the time it took me to film the episode about staying cool. But I am going to be heading out. And I know some of you enjoy the car ride. So let me mount this. And I'll take you on a little ride with me to the compound. Yeah, from the O'Galley Library. So let me plug in some power here so that my phone doesn't run out of power. And let's head out. Do you want to talk a little bit about safety? I don't know if you've been following the Facebook group and the Facebook page for living in a van. I ran a little news article here that just happened recently, I think in Portland. It was Portland, Oregon. I guess they have a lot of van dwellers over there, and one of the vans, it looked like a van that had a high top, extended van, actually caught on fire and the people inside died. Yeah. I guess it was cold there, and what they did was they ran their heater, their propane stove, or butane or propane, whatever their system was. They turned that on to heat their van at night while they slept. Now, that's not recommended for several reasons. One being, you could see what the end result was. Those two ended up dying. The van caught on fire, and they died. So, you know, you've got the danger of, because you've got an open flame, and whenever you have an open flame, there's a high chance of producing carbon monoxide, which is poisonous to us. So they're in a very small enclosed space with an open flame burning. So carbon monoxide may have even contributed to it if they, had carbon monoxide buildup and then they didn't wake up. But what had happened was the flames caught on fire to something. Somehow it caught on fire to drapes or something, I don't know. They were running their stove is what the article said. So it caught something on fire, and of course the whole thing burned up. I guess a bicyclist came by and saw it and tried to get them out of there, but couldn't. The flames were just too fast. Looking at the wreck, I think it was a van that had a high top that was installed, because the center area burned completely through. So big warning. Don't fall asleep with an open flame. Okay. And if you do have open flames and stuff in your vehicle, it's a must-have. You really need to get a smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector. Especially the carbon monoxide is probably even more dangerous than the smoke. But you shouldn't be running flames at night while you're sleeping. I recommend getting like really thick, sub-zero sleeping bags and sleeping in those, or even getting several and sleeping in layers versus trying to run heat at night while you're sleeping. That even includes like a fireplace. Some people have a stove that they put into their vehicle and they make a fireplace burning gas or sometimes burning wood. Whenever you burn, there is a chance for carbon monoxide. It can leak. The pipes that you have installed could leak. Anything can go wrong. Now, people do that and say, yeah, I do it, and I'm not afraid of whatever, and I guess that's a personal choice. For me, if I have such a system, I would use it during the daytime when I'm awake, maybe burn some stuff before I go to sleep, and make sure the area is well ventilated, and have my carbon monoxide detector and smoke detector and stuff like that all set up, and making sure that they all work. Then when I go to sleep, I'd put out the fire, But I think having good quality sleeping bags, maybe even several, that you can, bundle yourself in, is safer than trying to heat up the entire van and sleep that way, because All it takes is you dozing off and something goes wrong, which it does. This is also kind of a warning for those people who think it's okay to, leave your pet in your vehicle. You say, well, I have enough electrical power, enough battery packs that I can run the air conditioning all day, So what happens if something goes wrong? Like sometimes fuses get blown. There could be a short circuit. Anything can happen. But if you have a pet and you leave it in a vehicle while you go to work all day, to me, I don't think that's really that nice for that pet to be in that confined space. And some people say, well, I have air conditioning in there for them. Yeah, but what happens if the air conditioning fails? You basically got a pet inside an oven, a slow burning oven, a slow cooking oven. And yeah, it can cook people. It cooks babies. That's why you see all those warnings about checking your vehicle. Even at Walmart, when you go there, they have the big thing that people ignore, but it's a picture that says, did you check your vehicle? Did you forget anything? Like a baby. They've had people leave their pets or babies in there and come back and the baby or the pet is dead because it can get like over 100 and something degrees. Like sometimes even, I don't know if it got up to like 160. They did a test where they saw how hot it could get inside a vehicle in Florida. And so if you're out anywhere where the sun shines, the vehicle is like a solarium. It gets hot. Even with window gaps and stuff, it still gets hot. If you have the air blowing, it helps. Like my own van, I never really seal it up. I always have I always have the back windows open, and I have the side, the front side windows open as tiny little gaps. But even with that, when I come in, my thermometer inside, that I have a little calendar thermometer in the back of the vehicle there, it'll say like 110 degrees. So inside my van, it can get to 110 degrees when I'm not in it. And this is a van that I've, painted the top white. That's if I'm out in the hot sun. Now, if I'm in the shade, like parked under a tree or something, generally it might get up to like 98. So it's already 10 degrees, 10, 15 degrees cooler just by being parked in a shade. But you can see 98 is close to 100. It's like rounded up to 100 degrees. That is still hot. You're like, well, the temperature outside isn't 100 degrees. Why is your van 100 degrees? Once again, it comes down to your van or your car acting like a solarium. Basically, the glass, the open portions, let the heat in. The radiant heat when the sun comes in, then it sits inside the van, and more heat keeps coming in through the windows, the glass, and it keeps heating up the internal air temperature inside the van. Now, if you have a fan, like a fantastic fan or another fan that you have set up to vent, that will certainly help because it'll blow out the hot air and draw in cooler air. But when I say cooler air, it's not only going to be as cool as the air it's drawing in from outside, which in Florida, typically that's going to be 86 degrees. In summer it could be like 90 degrees. So you're not going to get cooler than 86 or 90 degrees. And not only that, even with the air circulating, it's still going to go up just because it's not totally exposed and open. That's why sometimes you see when I do my video segments where I'm on the beach or even just at a park somewhere, I'll have the windows completely open, the doors completely open, and the rear, I have a rear door, a rear hatch that pops open, and I have a metal pole that I hold in its place to keep it propped up. The reason I do that is it allows a complete airflow through my vehicle. And in that case, the temperature in my van is as cool as the air temperature. So if it's 86 outside, then my van is 86 degrees, Plus, I got the shade, which helps. Because when you're outside at 86, it is 86, but if you're exposed to the sun, you feel the sun heating you up. It starts to cook you like bacon. So keep those thoughts in mind, just for safety and stuff. Basically, please, if it's cold where you are, and for the winter when it comes up, Don't sleep with fire burning. Some people use electric thinking it's safer, and it is safer to an extent because you reduce the risk of an explosion from the electricity, but it's not safer from a fire hazard because you could get a short circuit anytime, and next thing you know, you got a fire. Speaking of which, I had a scary incident. You know, I have 3 fans in my van. I had one that was in the back, you know, the one that I use to blow at my head, at my face, when I'm sleeping at night. Well, one day I went back there and I turned it on, and it didn't seem to come on. And I was trying to figure out what was wrong with it. You know, it would get stuck a lot, and I would have to hit it, you know, whack it a couple times, and then it would start spinning. Well, this time I whacked it and it wouldn't spin, and it seemed like it was just sitting there and wasn't doing anything. Then I reached back to touch the switch, and it was burning hot, like hot enough to almost melt. So evidently there was some kind of short circuit in the fan itself, the motor. And had I gone to sleep like that and didn't know, potentially the short circuit, remember I was touching the switch, and the switch is like plastic enclosure, and I could feel the heat coming through, as well as the wire, you know, the wire that ran from the fan to the 12-volt power supply was hot, meaning it was going to get hot enough to melt the wire, and eventually you'd have exposed hot wire sitting out there that could touch any fabric or anything and catch it, or even the wood of the vehicle, and set it on fire. And if you're sleeping, you might never wake up. You might not even notice, not until too late, that you're dead. You know, so be careful, be safe. Carbon monoxide detector, I highly recommend, maybe even 2 of them. Smoke detector, you know, stuff that you would have around your house for safety, you should have in your van if you're living in your van. I don't have a smoke detector. I do have a CO2 detector. The reason I don't have a smoke detector is I don't really have any fires running unless I'm there watching it, you know. So, but the CO2 detector is very important. I've got one. I might end up getting a second one, but I don't run any systems. You know, I don't run the motor while I'm sleeping. I did do that once, though, to heat up when it was cold outside. I don't know if you guys recall when I got to the 20 degrees Fahrenheit here in Florida, when I was doing the night gig up in northern Florida. It was freezing cold for me at 20 degrees. I think it was like 28 degrees, 26, 28 degrees. That to me was freezing cold. And I did get up in the middle of the night because it was so cold, and I started up the car and ran the heater, the vehicle's heater. That's when you run the risk of carbon monoxide poisoning. When you're driving, like even right now, there's a potential for carbon monoxide to get inside the vehicle. The engine is releasing carbon monoxide right now, burning. So having a CO2 detector can help give you that little added safety measure, you know. I guess what it comes down to is death comes for all of us, but we can just let it happen without taking any precautions, or we can try to be somewhat safe and take the precautions. I decided I'm not going to go up this way. I'm going to go down to Malabar Road. But anyhow, we could decide to try to take as much precautions as we can, and that's the best that we can do. You know, I don't go crazy worried about dying or whatever in the van or out here, because I figure, you know, my life is in God's hands, and what's going to happen is going to happen. But at the same time, I'm not in a rush to put myself into unnecessary danger, you know. If I can afford a smoke detector or a carbon monoxide detector, I'm going to get that and install it. Matter of fact, I'm probably going to go ahead and sometime this week pick up a fire extinguisher, because now I've been cooking in the vehicle. You know, I've been having a flame, an open flame with the butane stove cooking. So it's not the butane stove that I'm worried about. It's if something happens and it catches fire to the van, you know, interior of the van, which is full of all sorts of fabrics and plastics and stuff that can burn easily. So just keep those thoughts in mind when you're building your van. Make sure you try to save money for these safety devices, you know, fire extinguisher, carbon monoxide detector, possibly a smoke detector, and a fire alarm, so that you get yourself some peace of mind. Also, make sure those things always have batteries, fresh batteries, and test them every so often to make sure that they're working. It doesn't do any good to have a carbon monoxide detector or a smoke detector that doesn't work. So check them every so often, maybe once a month, you know, or even once a week. But I think once a week is overkill. I check mine like typically once every couple months, you know, but I can tell if it's working or not because there's a little light that lights up to show that it's still working. But I will also press it to see if it works. And it's been 3 years. Maybe it's time for an upgrade, you know, a new one. I don't know. But anyhow, I hope you are all staying safe. I'm sorry to bring such gloomy news, but I think it's very important that people are aware of safety issues like that and try to prepare for it when they're living in a van. And if you're living in a home, it might not hurt also to double check your carbon monoxide detector as well as your smoke detector. Because believe it or not, carbon monoxide can also collect in a house. So until next time, everyone, I hope you stay safe. God bless you all. And I am truly saddened to see that news of those people, you know, that died in their van in Portland, Oregon. Truly sad. So I hope that doesn't happen to any of you out there listening to me. And if you know other van dwellers and stuff, make sure you stress to them the importance of safety, you know. Install that detector. Don't run fire at night, please. Until next time, take care. God bless you all. Please stay safe. Bye-bye now.